of compromise. Holy shit. Of compromise. You know, what did Thomas Jefferson say? Thomas Jefferson said, only lay down true principles and adhere to them inflexibly. And these people who don't even have a solution are advocating compromise, a middle path, not even knowing if a middle path exists and could possibly serve us. This is preposterous. Introduction. What is money and how should it be controlled? As if that question hasn't been answered. These two questions have been central to the functioning of human society since the first cities sprung up from the fertile riverbanks of Mesopotamia, and yet they are questions few of us ever consider. However, the answers we settle on are incredibly important. No kidding. Monetary policy can determine whether a nation rises or falls. Absolutely. Which means, is middle path or compromise? What principle can ever be compromised? You don't compromise a principle. You abandon it or you abide by it. One or the other. It's a principle because it is strictly what it is. And you get its consequences only and only if you abide by it. Period. However, the answers we settle on are incredibly important. Monetary policy can determine whether a nation rises or falls, whether democracy functions properly, and whether most people have a job, a house, and sufficient income. The purpose of this model economy wiki page is to provide a forum for the growing community of monetary reformers. Why is there a growing community of monetary reformers if 40 years ago there was a proof of singular solution? And why is this yet another purported monetary reform site that doesn't even have an answer? This should piss you off. It pisses me off. You know, this person wouldn't want to come very near me. The purpose of this model is to provide a forum for the growing community of monetary reformers to discuss improvements to the current monetary regime. Not perfection, not eradication of the crime, not rectification of the obfuscation of the currency. Improvements of the current monetary regime as it manifests in various forms around the globe with the hopeful, not even the absolute, with the hopeful, if far off, not near term, we could stop this failure tomorrow if these people weren't such stupid bastards pretending that they're doing something when they're not doing a damn thing at all. Okay? If far off goal of nearing a compromise, pledging dedication to a compromise, which might be amenable to all. Now, why would it compromise? I can tell you one person, and that is yours truly, that will absolutely not be amenable to at all. And if it would be amenable to anyone else, I say here and now, they are a fool. Because the solution already exists. And if you debate that, debate it. Challenge it. Is there more than one solution to inflation and deflation? And has that solution not already been authored? Come on, this is preposterous. Jefferson said, only lay down true principles and adhere to them inflexibly. Do not be frightened into their surrender by the alarms of the timid or the croakings of the wealthy against the ascendancy of the people. The true foundation of Republican government is the equal right of every citizen in his person and property and in their management. Try by this as a tally every provision of our Constitution and see if it hangs directly on the will of the people. And you, whoever you are, where have you hung it? But on Ellen Hodgson Brown? Jefferson also said, ignorance is preferable to error. and he is less remote from the truth who believes nothing than he who believes what is wrong. You know, I don't really mean to read compliments to my work, but this fellow, Jim Eldon, harassed Ellen Hodgson Brown. It's not just from me that she's got it. It's from a lot of other people. Jim Eldon, wrote Ellen some December 10th, 2008. 5 days later, he wrote me back. I responded. His letter was lengthier than that, of course. He wrote back, "You're right about the corruption of the term sound money. Thanks for the definition. It's interesting to note that at this level of resolution of the conception, mathematically perfected economy is as much as a principle of ethics as of economics. The right to non-intervention. I'm going to meditate on this for a while. It's beautiful." Well, Jim, he was a farmer, and, I guess he sold the farm, lost the farm, I don't know, and he's gone into the restaurant business here in these hard times in California. And, the last I called him a few times, and the last I heard from him, he's reading a book by one of my plagiarists saying that they understand this multiplication of artificial indebtedness by interest. 40 years after, I introduced the idea, and now he's reading somebody else as if there's anything to add to it, I mean, in truth, the idea is so, it's so unexpansive that it doesn't deserve a book. If it does, it's a very, very small book, and who's the proper author of that book, But the last I heard from Jim, he was reading one of my plagiarists, and I've never called him again, Nonetheless, on December 30th, 15 days after, 20 days after his first letter, he's writing Ellen Hodgson Brown. Who's up to what? Pretending now that she's after she's advocated interest, that she's going to go free for plagiarizing my prescription for one just currency, So he writes her, and these are his words. This is to Ellen Hodgson Brown herself, December 30th, 2008. As I wrote to Mike privately a while ago, the essence of his solution, mathematically perfected economy, is at once an economic principle and an ethical one. The principle is that of non-intervention. Jim's words are very eloquent. The principle is that of non-intervention, a principle which is found at the heart of democratic theory. His conception appears to my mind as an economic analog to the conception of civil liberties, which seeks to guarantee for each individual all those freedoms which are consistent with the same guarantee for every other individual. In its economic manifestation, it can be stated as follows. That is, this is Mike's definition of mathematically perfected economy. It is every prospective debtor's right to issue their promise to pay, free of extrinsic manipulation, adulteration, or exploitation of that promise, or the natural opportunity to make good on it. From this perspective, it should be abundantly clear, and this is the part I really would like you to hear. From this, this is the end of his letter to Ellen Hodgson Brown. From this perspective, it should be abundantly clear that bankers are as legally sanctioned usurers and faux creditors have no place in a democratic society. They are neither desirable nor necessary. She has been informed of this a long time ago, and she is going there. Why now? Because this was her own development of thinking. She's constantly still advocating banks. They are neither desirable or necessary, Jim says. They should be no more welcome than slave owners, political dictators, or murderers. They have no right to insinuate themselves into economic relations as the only legal arbiters of debt and credit. But having done so, they have impaired every other freedom inherent to the democratic ideal and continue to prevent a truly free market economy from taking shape. End of letter. She might learn eventually, but she's quite the author, isn't she? Another fellow, Ron Boyer, puts in his own words why my work is so plagiarized. Ron writes, I'm neither a mathematician nor an economist, two disciplines in which I fared rather poorly, to be truthful. But I am good enough with logic and number to see that you're quite brilliant at economic theory and that you're onto something big. Very big. I wouldn't let the theft of some of your foundation work bother you. It's a big kudu to you that they've borrowed from you, though their conclusions or motivations be false. I'm sure Ron understands, however, that it's not the personal issue. It's a fact of all the divisiveness of all of this, which is leading to the confusion of this very moment that there are multiple possible solutions for Iceland, for every country in the world. And what are they? Who has developed them? Who has finished them? Who has proven them? Who has gone far beyond them? How to implement them? How to take them there? And all that I fight to do this, we have Ellen Hodgson Brown coming up again and again and again, trying to attract attention to herself for developing something she hasn't developed yet, she was wrong about from the beginning, and which was already developed many years ago. Many, many, many years ago. So, we have this, phenomenal number of plagiarists, now competing with mathematically perfected economy, purporting to advocate solution, actually even advocating compromise of principle in every case, when mathematically perfected economy was originally, 40 years ago, was originally a proof of singular solution. And now, ostensibly, Iceland is asking for debates on solution, as if the arguments I've already presented are debatable. Well, I told you there's some news in some at ronball.com. These guys first reported that one of them did anyway that they'd come to the exact same conclusion that I did, and the very next day he posts a petition in competition with mathematically perfected economy, and he's come to the exact same conclusion that money can't be a debt. So these people are going for the truth, and we've got to be able to guide them there somehow. Now, there's a a fellow on this forum